All right, now so we'll talk one last thing, gripping. And this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be how can we get a near side underhook. And so,
beautiful.
So when we're engaging in some form of half guard, knee shield, reverse Eva, etc., we did talk about entering a long range chest to chest situation or a long range half butterfly situation. However, if we do want to get chest to chest, how are we going to go about doing this? I basically always enter it via a near side underhook. So a lot of my entries are contingent on being able to get a near side underhook. So the way we can go about this is, as long as I can get his hand to frame on me, I'm going to be able to get this near side underhook. How can we do this? So if I'm knee cut passing, he has a knee shield, he's defensively responsible. I bring this knee up from here. Sometimes people will post automatically, but you can't always bet on this. If I do post just like on my knee, from here I can just flare this elbow, and from here I basically drive my left shoulder in, making sure not to drive I'm trying to access his wrist as a lever. Right, so I drive this in, and from here, once again, we perform this knee swing, where I look to step across, and he's probably going to want to have butterfly. However, if they're just framing on your upper body, because there's not a real threat right now of you passing with this knee, we can incorporate this type of top side cross wrist grip as what accompanied with a tricep grip to kind of force him to frame on his knee. So from here, it's difficult for him to frame on an upper body, so it's likely he's going to frame on a knee when I take this top side cross wrist grip. And from here, I pull my elbow to the inside, I flare this, and I get this underhook. And I switch my knees, and it's just so easy to enter. So this isn't a tough hand fighting instructional, but just throwing that in there as one of the ways I really like to get a near side underhook. So long as you can create a situation where your partner's arm is extended and posted and there's space, there's an open elbow. From here, we're going to be able to start looking at a near side underhook, do this knee switch, and get to this half butterfly or half guard and work from there. All right, so now we will discuss some auxiliary passing strategies to use in conjunction with your tripod passing. So understand that we can't just force something on a good training partner, even if they're bad. If they don't have the habits that are complementary to what we're doing, so if they don't play half butterfly, it's going to be really hard for you to force them pry their legs into a position where they play half butterfly. So it's important that we can not only decide what we're going to do, but interpret our opponent's reactions and act accordingly. So the other passing strategies that I really like to use in conjunction with this half butterfly passing and tripod passing, or I'll just list them first and then I'll elaborate. So it's going to be knee shield, half guard passing, right? All this, whether it's from knee shield, whether it's from chest to chest, all very complementary to tripod passing, as they're very adjacent in a way where if my partner were to resist a lot of what I'm doing, whether you get a half guard and we can't bring him back to the half butterfly, we're going to have to know how to pass here. So this is an area of study that I would highly encourage if you guys want to be effective in using this. We can also talk about headquarters passing, right? Just because headquarters is so similar to a half butterfly. Sometimes it'll be your choice to enter this position. Sometimes it's your partner's choice. But notice, if I just move my foot, now we're in a half butterfly. So from here, we're going to have to be comfortable passing from here. And we can pass like from a position where our weight is backwards. And from here, we can start looking for our passing options. But we also want to be comfortable in a position where our weight's forwards, like a float pass. Why is this the case? It can be the case where I'm looking to get my upper body connection and my partner pushes me overhead. If I'm comfortable here, I can go straight into my attacks, right? With float passing, something I really try to do a lot is keeping my hips close to my partner's head to bring his knee to his chest. So he does feel like there's a substantial amount of weight. Move a little bit. Right, from here, he pushes me away. It's just not going to be super pleasant. If he pushes me backwards, we find that there's space here. We can go into our passing. Or that doesn't work, he pushes me back. From here, we can once again start looking to hand fight hands from here. So understand that using these on conjunction is very important. If he turns to the other hip, we have all of this once again. And then finally, it's going to be outside passing. So if our partner denies us this type of entanglement, maybe he pushes us away, doesn't allow us to engage in a close manner, from here, this is where it's going to be appropriate for us to use a lot of our outside passing. So if you've watched any of my matches, a lot of my passing, like for example, a great example of my match with Tommy Langacker, and the way I passed it, I used outside passes to force him to engage with me, entangle me, and set up my type of pass. So if my partner is just making it really difficult for me to get close, he's just framing, maybe he's just staying tight, it's just tough for me to get in close. From here, I'm going to use all these outside passes because like some people are really good at playing bottom north south, but they're going to have to be comfortable playing with some degree of extension. Because if he were to just play here, I don't care how close he can keep his knees to his chest. If he doesn't do anything and there's no extension, I'm going to get past. So the moment there's extension here, this is going to be opportunities for us to pass, whether that be via this half guard. If I start moving from one side to another, he entangles me, right? And this is going to be a situation in which I can start looking to once again get back into what we've discussed previously, whether that be half butterfly, tripod, etc. A lot of times the common reaction is if your partner feels like you're flanking them, they don't want to be here, they might sit up to try face you. And once again, if you watch my previous instructional, this is a great situation for us to use hand fighting to set up all of our attacks, and vice versa, right? We get an angle here, you might concede just back, and from here, great play. So understand that we can start looking to use split squat, headquarters, and outside passing to complement a lot of our half butterfly passing and our tripod passing. So these things don't exist in isolation. They all complement each other, and then you get a synergistic quality where the overall effect is greater than the sum of the parts. And this is how you can become a very effective passer. All right, so this is the FAQ/troubleshooting section. So as per my Patreon, these are some of the questions that I haven't addressed in the sections before that I'm going to address now. So we'll start with, what if my partner gets a wrist grip and just stiff arms? So we're in this double butterfly. This is going to be a quick answer. Hopefully this isn't just all bullshit. But from here, I'm stepping on the line of the hip. My partner makes a grip on his wrist. Understand that because of just by nature of it, how he's grabbing me and position his arms in, the weakness of the grip is always going to be exposed. If he does push this into me, it's very easy for me to rotate my hand out. And from here, I basically use my knee to block his wrist. And from here, when he tries to hold this grip, it becomes difficult. If he's ungodly strong, you might have to, he's trying really hard to grip. You might have to do a bit of a jerking motion where you go a few times to break this, just so it's not just one go he holds on. You want to just do one go and then just do a bit of a shimmy to release this grip. If you do all that and it doesn't work, you probably shouldn't be fighting this guy. However, in these situations, we're going to rely mostly on leg pummels instead. So if we can't use our free hand then, we're going to go knee to knee, fight with this. If we go knee to knee and pummel our knee to the inside, we go here. And we kind of just have to understand that this hand is his now. Right, and work around it. But hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's helpful.
Ungodly strength.
All right, so now we'll go over a situation where, dealing with a strong whizzer. And we'll talk about what this may look like and how we can work around this. So we did talk about ways to mitigate this. So we'll go a little bit here. Yeah, so in this case, my right arm's underhook, head's on the mat. I'm going to be passing from here. If we don't have our hand in good position, or we don't have our weight properly distributed, it can be the case where Owen's able to get a strong whizzer. Strong whizzer doesn't mean he's clamping down on this, because I don't care about this. Strong whizzer in this situation that's going to be threatening towards me is when he starts looking to shoot his hand across my body, right? And from here, this is where we get a mirror lock. This sucks. This really sucks. So from here, ways we can start looking to deal with this. Corrective. From here, he shoots his arm across. If I can drop my shoulder down to his waist, I can eventually start looking to build back up. However, we have to understand that now there's going to be the risk of the forward shift. And when that does happen, we anticipate what we can do to continue passing, whether that be side body lock or something along those lines. So in the position where I'm initially shoulder to shoulder, he staggers me off to one side. I put like the wrist across. I'm going to posture up, post off of my left leg, and drive my shoulder to his waist. From here, it becomes difficult from normal. If we struggle to do this, he shoots his hand across. I concede, and from here, we start looking to fight the upper body. And if the upper body fights us back, from here, we'll probably introduce passing. So this is similar to the back step I was talking about earlier. So I won't go too in depth into this since this is still a tripod passing instructional. So yeah. All right, so next question is when our partner brings their knees to his chest and extends. So if I'm understanding this correctly, the issue some people are having is I'm in this tripod and one brings his knees to his chest and extends away. So this is going to be a movement that's combined with his upper body and lower body. And this is how he's going to get some movement on me. So first of all, the way we can prevent this is by using our secondary or free hand to make sure my partner doesn't have a good ability to base off of me and push me away. Right? So if my partner starts looking to bring his knees up and post on my hip, I pull this elbow out of place. And from here, I can start looking to use this knee to do one of two things. I manipulate his knee in one of two ways. Knees away from chest or knee to his other knee and getting into the smash pass. I understand that by him extending his legs, like if we were to do it without me, he brings his knees up and extend them. From here, he's giving me levers to work with, whether it be knee away from chest or knee to other knee. Levers to spine or levers just to bring his knee away. This is all done with my post hand. We find out using the post hand is difficult. Something that we can also do is if he extends, once again, I don't want him to be able to post on me. But then I can also use this knee to start looking to access the levers to turn his knees away. We can play this in a way where we push knees to one side, he fights this, I push knees into the opposite side. And then we play these movements in conjunction with one another. If we realize, okay, he's going to throw me off, this is tough, maybe he's managed to step on my hip, right? From here, I do a bit of a push-up off the mat, and I concede. I'm not willing, I don't think it's reasonable to want to hold on to this position just because you've achieved it with the risk of, okay, he's going to turn me over, he might get on top. I'd rather just concede by myself. You have to know when to call it quits, right? So if I'm here, I feel like he's really doing a great job of pushing me out. From here, the moment I sense him maybe getting feet on hips or just really carrying my weight all too much, from here, from this high tripod, I can post my hands to the mat. He tries to lift me. I can push myself away. And from here, we can go into our passing sequences. All right, so now let's talk about a situation where my partner may be getting scoop grips on us. So we'll approach this from two angles. One is preventative and one is corrective. So once we're here, the likelihood is they're going to post or they're going to get an underhook or a scoop grip on my leg on the side in which I don't have an underhook. So it's unlikely it's going to be on this side. If I'm a right arm underhook, and such likelihood is he's going to try to get a scoop grip here. So the way I play with the scoop grip is, in terms of ways to prevent it, I can just pull his elbow, get wrist grips, and so on. It's going to be tough for him to get the scoop grip. But once he does, from here, I'm not just bringing my leg down if I want to strip this. In this situation, he can just do a bicep curl, stay strong here. It's going to be tough. I'm going to actually take my weight on my leg out, and then I want to be in a situation where my leg is closer to his wrist than his elbow. Because then from here, I'm at the end of the lever, I can start walking my leg down, and now it's going to be difficult for him to hold this. If I just let him get the scoop and I push my leg down, it's tough. I need to walk it out, and then I can circle down, and once again continue with my passing. If he's Craig Jones, and he puts me in a cradle, it is pretty bad for me now. Right? I can't really extend myself away. From here, I'm basically going to base out, make sure I don't get taken over, and from here, hopefully I can sprawl out to get into some sort of half guard. But once again, I'm not committing to his chest because from here,
it's very risky that if I commit forward, he's going to roll me through. So from here, I generally rather just focus on maintaining my base. And in the meantime, whether it's from here or if we go back to the butterfly situation, right? I get the, yeah. I want to start looking to try to break Owen's posture just to make it a little bit harder for him to hold this. So I can incorporate my head, or I can incorporate my grips, and eventually look to break this. And this is just some of the ways I like to deal with this problem. Let's say your partner is very boring and just doesn't want to get tripod passed or do anything else. Sounds good. They might take double hamstring grips on you. And sometimes the issue with this double hamstring grip is that what they can do is they might not even be able to do anything because they're holding my legs in place, but they can create tension between his shin and the inside of my thigh. So from here, when I look to step over, it can be tough. I generally like to use my free hand, bring his knee to my center line and push his knee down. This can generally work. However, if we find ourselves in a situation where, man, this guy is strong, I'm going to post my head on the mat, bring my head to my partner's chin. Right, I'm here, I feel like, oh my god, I can't do anything. Maybe I can't strip this, I can't move his knee. Post head to the mat, my feet are carrying my weight, and now I'm going to use my head to turn his chin and start looking to drive weight through my head to break his posture. The likelihood is he's going to have to concede these hamstring grips just because this sucks. And from here, we're going to be presented with opportunities to either go to this topside knee cut, or if I reallocate strength, I can step over, and so on. So if we can't bring his knee in line to stuff, you can start looking to mess with this posture. Alright, so now we'll go over a situation where a partner may put me in an X guard. So generally the most common form of X guard we may encounter, which angle? We'll show this from this angle. Right, from here, we get to here, to this tripod, he looks to X guard me. Right, and from here, it can make it annoying for me to continue pummeling my legs. From here, usually what I'm going to look to do, if I can, on near side underhooks, going to give me a great ability to sprawl back on his hook and make it hard for him to maintain this X guard. If my partner stays tight with his own underhook, it might be tough. So I'm going to pull my own lizard. I'm going to pull my head across. Pull my head across. And I can start looking to clear hooks with my free hand. He tries to move me from here. Also difficult because I'm across his body. Or if we feel like this is tough, should get back. I can also sag off to this side. Once again, controlling the heist arm. So when he tries to turn into me, right, it's tough. My knee is in between his right leg and the mat. So if we circle a little bit. So we're here. So when we see I enter this position, he's here. I feel like I can't get anything. We can also sag this way. And you see now when he looks to turn into me, he's going to have to let go of this. And from here, he's just to pass. If we don't want this to happen, or if I feel like he's super athletic, then I might be in trouble. He might be able to get up faster than me. Maybe this slips out. I like to, let's turn a little bit. I like to use my free hand, start turning his head away. Whether it be with my forearm, my hand, depends how much you want to caress him. But from here, when he looks to turn into me, try into me. It's tough. And then we can even use our head, and then start looking to use our hand to start dealing with our bonus hooks. Let's step over us. Yeah. Alright, so now we'll go over a bonus technique that I didn't plan on filming, but apparently I do, as per Mr. Owen Jones. So, apparently in a situation where he said I do it often. I thought, just often?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, when I'm tripod passing, not just my head on the floor, but I can use my trap to smother my partner. And from here, this can often create a reaction of it may be a bit of an overreaction on my partner's part, where he might push on me, extend his legs away, and so on. The smother can often elicit this type of reaction of panic, so it's something we can exploit and use to pass. So if we feel like we're here, and I feel like, okay, it's staying super tight, if I can get my trap over his face, try to get extension on his part, it's going to give me options to get to a pass and
have a bit of a laugh.
Extreme discomfort.
All right, so now we'll introduce some games that I like to use to practice a lot of these things. So I just want to explain why I think the use of games are so important, and you can call them like specific rounds, games, positional sparring, whatever. We'll detail this more as we go on. But some of the key points on why I like to do this is, first of all, in regards to playing these games and how useful they can be, I think one, it gives you the opportunity to address problems quickly, because by you doing things in a positional round, as well as throwing in some dialogue in between that we'll talk about later, we create the situation where we have a short feedback loop between stimulus and opportunity to then think of problems versus solutions, and kind of play that game of, okay, what is my partner doing? How can I deal with that? And then he can do the same to me. Or we have a short feedback loop, because then it kind of speeds up the process of how we understand the position and what are some of the options that our partner may present. So that's one huge part that I think is very useful, and I'd say a huge component on why I like to play this. Secondly, something that I think is very useful is also it's fun for both parties. It's not just me going in and then just drilling a move, repping it 100 times, and then being bored out of his mind. There's going to be problem solving done on my end as well as on his end, and then that's one point. And then after that, something that I think is also important is that it's also very flexible. From here, if I feel okay, I want to work this specific situation, this specific reaction when my partner has a specific grip, we can do that. However, if we want to just work this position broadly, this is also okay. I believe there's one point that I'm missing.
That short feedback loop, little pressure, both parties, flexible one.
Beautiful. And then lastly, I knew there were four. You're also in a situation where there's relatively low pressure. If you were to try to do these things in a round, especially with someone very good, there can be a fair bit of pressure on you performing the move to succeed, because the consequences of failure might be more greater. Because let's say I do this in an open round, Owen fucks me up, sweeps to me, and I end up on bottom. Then it's going to be a situation where I'm fighting out a bottom. I'm not going to be able to work on what I want to work on. So being in this low pressure situation, it can be very helpful, because you make a mistake, that's okay. You can reset, you can go back to what you were doing before. As well as doing situational rounds, it's great, because then you don't have to just perform and practice these moves on people who are worse than you. You're going to be able to do it on people who are of similar skill and even better than you, and practice this specific situation. Because these are the people that are going to give you the best reactions. Because if you're just doing it on people who are much worse than you, those aren't the reactions that are going to give you issues. You're going to be able to do that all day. But by using these games and positional rounds, you're going to be able to develop these skills much better against better quality of opponent, and eventually it's going to just deepen your understanding of this position and how to incorporate different ideas and so on. Yeah, so the first game we'll talk about, so the way I like to structure and think about this is into three phases. And similar to the phases we were talking about earlier, not similar, it's exactly the phase we were talking about earlier. Entry, maintenance, and offense. So first, this entry phase. So we can practice entering this position against our opponent. And once again, the flexibility of this is what really makes it wonderful, where depending on where you're having issues, maybe I could say I'm having issues with entering on a supine opponent. Then I ask someone, okay, I want you to be supine. And from here, I'm going to practice entering in this situation. Maybe initially, if I'm just terrible at it, I'm just going to tell Owen, just be defensive. Don't do any attacks. Once I get better, now he's going to incorporate some attacks, incorporate some offense. So if I'm making mistakes, you can capitalize. But initially, if I want this to be a situation where I'm really just practicing what I'm doing, I don't want too much resistance, I'm really trying to think what I'm doing, ask him to just be defensive. Similarly, you can also tell them to be seated. If that's the case, you can also tell them to place certain types of play styles, whether it's a butterfly, whether it's a delahiva, reverse delahiva, and you can put all of these constraints on yourself and your partner to make it so that you get to practice whatever you want to work on. And I think this is one of the most important thing is in terms of training, and I think it does help you adopt a lot of these new skills in a shorter period of time. So yeah, that's generally how I would think of approaching entry. There are some other things that you can make it super specific where it's like, okay, I want you to really emphasize using a near side 2-on-1 and I'm going to counter you and try to get into the tripod. Or you can just be like, okay, I just play guard, I'm going to try into the tripod. So whatever you need, it's flexible enough. It's a flexible framework in which whatever you need it to do, it can. All right, so now we'll talk a bit about the maintenance game. So the idea of this is instead of worrying about, okay, how can I attack? I'm first thinking about, okay, how's my ability to hold this position over time and over against resistance? So first, basically, some of the common reactions that you might want to work with and you might want to try to overcome when practicing this are reactions such as, I feel like Owen does a good job of getting a whizzer, really preventing the whizzer if he gets it. I find we reset to prevent this once again. It could also be in situations where I don't do a great job of pinning Owen's shoulders if he just sends a turtle and he can turtle away just because I'm doing a terrible job of pinning his shoulders. It can also be if I feel like, okay, I'm not doing a good job of, I'm not doing a good job of preventing the close guard. Maybe Owen's putting in a close guard constantly. Then I can practice the skill of, okay, not getting put into close guard. These are some common problems to work around and to design the game around. Or you can just have it be the case where Owen's not really looking to attack or escape the position, but he's just defending the pass attempts if you just want to work your pass attempts. So this is often how I'll approach designing this game, and we'll throw in some examples afterwards to see how I would go about doing this. And then finally, the last specific game is the offense game where we start in the position, and from here I'm working on a lot of my attacks. How can I, specific passes and so on. And this is going to be a lot, in contrast to the maintenance game, where the maintenance game is just holding against resistance. This is going to be one also holding against resistance, but then going into our offense off of some of their reactions and trying to see what openings are there for us to pass. So depending on his knee position, hand position, and so on, and then in these rounds, we're going to consider all of these options and try to find, okay, what's most appropriate in this said situation, and then try to, once again, deepen our understanding of this to eventually become a more well-rounded passer. So then once you practice all three of these skills, going into training, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to execute all of this stuff. All right, and so before we get into the rolling and the rolling portion, I want to place an emphasis on when doing these games and when just rolling in general, creating a dialogue with your partner. And you don't want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, you should have done this. Look, I hit you with all these things. You suck. It's more for the benefit of each other. So don't think you're cool because you tripod pass someone and then you're just going to tell them, yeah, I tripod passed you. That's it. The idea is to try to communicate what I'm doing so he understands the problem at hand and so he can do a better job of thinking of ways to prevent what I'm doing. So this makes it so he gets a better understanding of the position, so he's able to give me a better quality of resistance when practicing, and then that's going to give me more problems, and that's going to give me more problems to solve. And over long periods of time, this is going to make it so we're able to cover a lot of ground and make a lot of progress in our understanding, both offensively and defensively, because I'm going to have to think about, okay, what is he doing to stop my tripod and how can I overcome these problems? And he's going to have to think from the other perspective, okay, he's presenting this and this in terms of offense, and what can I do to prevent this, mitigate this, or counter this, right? And by having this dialogue, it makes everything a lot clearer. If Owen only understands that I'm tripod passing him, but really doesn't understand some of the nuances of the position, it's going to be very hard for him to think up of a solution. So by making everything clearer, making everything more explicit, not only does it help him, but it also helps me, because then the problem becomes clear. Okay, I understand that this is what I was focusing on. So now we both gain that understanding. Again, I'm very much of this mentality where a rising tide raises all ships, where if I can get my partner to be better, he's eventually going to help me get better. If you just like winning and you just want to fuck people up, maybe don't do this. But if you're of this mindset, I mean, it's pretty boring. But yeah, hopefully you guys understand that. We'll have a live demonstration of this after this. So you'll see me doing the rounds and then me discussing the rounds with my training partners.
You suck.